Hey folks, it's Andy Barrar, Handy Andy from handyandymedia.com, and today we're going to be looking at 3 Ninebot e-scooters from Segway. You can find the link in the description for all 3, and they all come at different price points. This one even comes with shocks for the first time that I've ever seen on e-scooters. Which one is right for you? Folks, we're about to find out. So to begin, let's just take a kind of a quick macro look at these 3 Ninebot e-scooters. From just like the outside, they look very, very similar, but when you take a closer inspection, you'll notice a difference. Now the E2, the one on the left, you can notice that it does have a larger platform, and that's because it's for entry-level beginners like teenagers or maybe even elderly. The display is also horizontal. It does have a bell, a mechanical bell, and with that horizontal display, it's kind of hard to see here in the sun, but it is very easy to see, so it's great if you have teenagers or someone new to riding an e-scooter. The next one, this is the F2 Plus, and you'll notice that the platform is a little bit shorter. That's because it's more for intermediate type of users. But what I really like is the inclusion of that little clip. Think about it. That little clip is one of my favorite features because it allows you to hang a bag if you're doing grocery shopping. The display on this one is vertical, which is different from the one that you can see over here on the left, the E2, which has a horizontal one. And that horizontal is the first time I've seen that on a Ninebot e-scooter. Typically, they have the vertical. But let's look at these platforms. You'll notice that they are a little bit shorter and different. But we'll go to the next one. This is the big kahuna, as I call it, the Max G2. And you'll notice that it does have a wider platform than the other two, but it is shorter, especially when you compare it to last year's model. It does have that vertical display, but this one has a digital horn instead of that bell. So it has all the bells and whistles, but digital bells and whistles, and shocks, both dual shocks on the back, and they also have on the front, but they're really noticeable on the back. And we'll have to test it out to see how much performance that does, having that suspension system on the back. Now, one thing I want to talk about is the charging. With the E2, the charging comes right there on the front, on the top there. And then if you look at the next one, the F2 Plus, same thing. The charging is on in the front, and that's how you'll charge it overnight to get it nicely ready to go. And you also want to make sure that's, nicely secured. But this one, you'll notice with the Max G2, the charging is on the side, and that is typical and consistent with last year's model, where they have it so that you have one cable that you would charge it on the side there. And that's because this one has the most power of all 3 of them, and I'll talk about that in a little bit later. All of these work with the Segway app. Inside this app, they have a host of different types of products like this one. Check this out, the Ninebot Go-Kart Pro. I hope one day to review that. So they have a lot of different type of models that all work with the same app, but what you'll typically do is allow Bluetooth, and then it will submit a Bluetooth signal that the app will detect. And because I have multiple e-scooters, you can see 2 came up right away, even though I was actually quite far away at the time. But that's how you basically set it up. You have to bind the e-scooter to the app, and that is a safety feature, so other people can't do that if the case that it got stolen. Interesting thing is you can actually turn the power on from the app onto the e-scooter. It has to be within Bluetooth range. You also have all these other different customization options, such as cruise mode. This mode, it just starts cruising itself without you touching it. I don't recommend it. Now the fun part, let's go for the actual test drive. This is the E2, the beginner model. Has a top speed of 20 kilometers. Again, it has that horizontal display, what makes it easy to see. This is my first time gonna ride it. And you'll notice when I take off, it was easy to take off, but it's not going that fast. Again, it has that 20 kilometer max speed, which makes it super safe for kids. For context, most municipalities, I think, allow 30 or 32 kilometers. Now, the big test is, what is it like to carry this? Because with these e-scooters, you can take them on public transit, but you have to put the weight into consideration. This one weighs about 31 pounds, and you can see I had no problem picking it up. I can kind of pick it up with one hand. I can then switch it with the other hand. To be honest, I wouldn't have too much problems going up a fleet of stairs with that. Next up, we have the F2 Plus. Now, this one is a big step up in terms of the battery, whereas the E2 had 450, this has 800, and it has that clip, which I really, really like. So 800 watt battery. You also notice, again, it has the vertical display as opposed to that horizontal one. And again, we're going to go and test this out. So this is the mid-level one. So 800 watts compared to 450, and boom, I'm just taking off right away. Like, that had a lot of acceleration, has a top speed of 25 kilometers. However, in the app, you can switch it to a sport mode and get up to 30 kilometers. But I think for most kids, you know, parents would love to see that 25 would be suitable. The next test is to put it all down and clip it together and to see what it's going to be like carrying it. I had a little bit of trouble trying to figure this one out. I noticed that it went on the other side of the handlebar, if I remember correctly. Took a little bit of time for me to kind of get it to clip in. Maybe that's just because it's the first time that I tried it. But picking it up, again, I did not have too much issue. I believe this one, it was around 38 or 39 pounds. So it does feel a little bit heavier, but again, I don't think I would have too much issue going upstairs with this. So, you know, portability when you're just traveling with it, that one you definitely can do. Now, the big kahuna, the Max G2. This one is super fast. You'll notice that platform, it does have that suspension, which is great, but then I'm wondering about the weight, and we'll talk about that in just a bit. It doesn't have that clip though. This is the high-end model. It doesn't have that little bag clip. I'm kind of confused on why that is, but here we go. I'm going to ride this, and 900 watts, again, more than the 800 on the F2 Plus, and boom, taking off like it was nothing. This thing can go fast, top speed of 30 kilometers. However, inside the app, you can speed it up to 35 kilometers. That is way faster than you're allowed on most municipalities. Now, I really wanted to check the weight for this one to see how much did it weigh and how did it feel, more importantly. So once I was able to get it clipped on, it was time to pick this up, and I could tell already just by holding it right there that this one was going to be heavier, and I had to adjust my hand. 53 and a half, or sorry, 53 and a half pounds. So I'm able to carry it, but I'm getting fatigued quite easily. I don't think I would be able to carry this upstairs without holding it with both hands. You can just see I'm switching hands right away because it is awkward. It's you know, a 35 and a half dumbbell is one thing, but when you have it like situated the weight on something awkward like that, it is pretty hard. So if I had to choose out of the three, folks, I would go with the middle version, the F2 Plus. It's got the best of both worlds, and it has that hook. I don't understand why they don't make that hook mandatory on all the Ninebot models. But, you know, for me, it was the best bang for your buck. It was really easy to maneuver around. Again, I could use the sport mode and get it up to 30 kilometers, which is a speed I'm mostly comfortable riding with. And it has the best of both worlds in terms of price and performance. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed this review of these Ninebot. Again, the link in the description below. If you want to find out more information about myself, you can go to my website, handyandymedia.com. Once again, I'm Andy Barrar, Handy Andy, signing out. See you again next time.